Rumplestilzkin. There was once a miller who was poorer than most, but he had a beautiful daughter. The girl was the apple of his eye, and her father boasted that she was lovely enough to be a queen. One day, the king rode by. He noticed the girl by the stream washing linen.
How beautiful she is,
the king thought to himself. Aloud, he said,
"What is your name?"
Before the girl could answer, her father replied,
"If you please, sir, that is my daughter. A more beautiful girl you'll never see."
The king looked down at them both with interest. From his beautiful double gray horse.
"Indeed, she has a lovely face,"
he replied. The miller's heart swelled with pride.
To be sure, to be sure. But there's more to her than her face,"
he said.
"What do you mean, Miller?"
the king asked curiously.
"Oh, well, she can, she can,
The miller tried desperately to say something that would impress the king. His eyes met the king's and he looked down at his feet. He watched the chickens scratch around in the yellow straw looking for grain.
I think, she can spin the straw into gold,"
he exclaimed with the look of immense triumph. "But father," his daughter broke in, dismayed at these untrue words.
"A rare girl indeed,"
the king said and smiled.
"If your fingers can really turn straw into gold, then your place is in my castle. Come with me, and I'll see if it is true."
The girl had no choice but to obey her king. And together they rode to his castle. When they arrived there, he led her to a high, dark room that was filled with straw. A spinning wheel stood in the center. The king said,
"You will have until sunrise to spin this dry straw into gold. But if you do not, and if your father has lied to me, then you must surely die."
The girl heard the bolts being drawn across the door, and she was so terrified that she started to cry. Then she noticed a little man standing in front of her.
"What's the matter?"
he asked. "I'm so unhappy," wept the girl. "The king has asked me to spin all the straw into gold by the morning, and I haven't a notion how to do it."
"What will you give me if I do it for you?"
the little man asked. "The locket around my neck," she replied. The little man took the locket, sat himself down on the wheel, and in no time, all the bales of straw was spun into a pile of bobbins full of rich gold thread. As soon as the sun rose, the king came, unbolted the door, and was delighted to see so much gold around him. But his privy purse was still not nearly full, and he needed a lot more gold to pay the soldiers who guarded his land from the greedy neighbors. He took the miller's daughter into another room and told her to spin all the straw into gold by the next morning. That night, the girl began to cry again, for she knew her task was hopeless. But again the little man appeared, and again he said,
"What will you give me if I spin this straw into gold for you?"
"The belt that's on my waist," she said. The little man took the belt and wore it round, and went the spinning wheel again. And bobbin after bobbin was filled with fine gold thread, until there was no straw left. The king was pleased beyond measure at the sight. He knew with just a little more gold in his treasury, he could really get the country going again. So he filled his largest room with straw and let the girl into it.
"If you can spin all this away during the night,"
he said,
"I'll take you as my wife, and then you need never spin straw again.
When the girl was alone, the little man appeared for the third time and said,
What will you give me if I spin the straw for you again?
I have nothing left to give you, she replied.
Then promise me you'll give me your firstborn child when you're the queen,
said the little man. The girl thought a lot of things could happen before that, so she promised him whatever he demanded. When the king came in the next morning, he found heaps of gold where the straw had been.
Oh, miller's daughter, you have spun more gold for me in 3 nights than I could hope to find in 60 years. Your skill is only matched by your great beauty. Will you be my queen?
So the girl who already loved him dearly became his wife, and in time gave birth to their son. She had quite forgotten her promise to the little man, until one day he stepped into the room and said,
Now, give me what you promised.
The queen was dismayed and begged him to take all her jewels and riches instead. He refused, but then he said,
So if you cry so bitterly at the loss of your baby, I'll give you one more chance to save him. You may have 3 days in which to guess my name, and if you do it then, you may keep him.
The queen stayed awake all night, trying to remember all the names she had ever heard. When the little man arrived the following day, she began with Nicholas, Timothy, Hairwald, and all the other names she knew. But after each name he called out,
No, that's not my name.
The next day she read all the books in the royal library and memorized all the uncommon names in them. She asked, Is your name Nimrod or Noah or Marmaduke? But he always replied calmly,
That's not my name.
The third day, she sent messengers all over the country to learn what names people were calling their children. At length, one messenger came back and said,
Your Majesty, I have been unable to find any new names. But on a high hill where the foxes and hares bid each other good night, I saw a little man dancing around a fire and singing.
All the little things, my royal dame. That's Rumplestilzkin. Rumplestilzkin is my name.
Imagine the queen's delight when she heard that name. But when the little man arrived that night, she asked first, Is your name Roger?
No.
Is your name Robert?
No.
Is it perhaps Rumplestilzkin?
The devil it is! The devil it is!
He screamed and stamped his foot with such fury that he split in two. The end. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe our channel and press the bell icon to get future updates. And don't forget to comment.